welcome back to the DreamHack PUBG Showdown. We've had round one already. If you've just tuned in, you missed it. And my word, what a battle you missed. You're going to have to check it out later on Twitch reruns. I'm sure they're going to do those overnight. Now, guys, I kind of lost my breath slightly. There was one point during that we lost 3 teams in a row.
Yeah, anytime that we see fights or games that end north of Yasnaya and sort of that mountainous area, it's a lot of deaths, right? Because it's tons of cover. It sort of reminds me of some Miramar style of fight, the way that it's laid out. These teams aren't necessarily as comfortable doing it with the amount of pros that are on this map, so it's often very chaotic. And we did see a lot of 3-team pickoffs, a lot of spoilers getting involved, but you know who blew me away in that game was Team Totality. They didn't win the whole thing, but they performed very well. They came through the BYOC, but they hurt team after team after team. They hurt Rusky early, they got Tempo Storm on rotation, and they kept fighting their way all the way to the bitter end.
Well, let's take a look at the standings so we can see where they got. I did actually go up into the pens before we kicked off today to just check in with them, because in the qualifiers up against the NA teams, they did go in really aggressive in my opinion. And I asked them, were they going to stick to that strategy, because it didn't see them through the first time round? And they said, yeah, we're not going to change a thing. And this time it worked out for them pretty well. So there we can see them in 5th. 84 kill points, placement 165. Any other teams on that list you particularly want to talk about, Toffees?
I mean, all of them looked really impressive to me. I mean, does anybody stand out to you besides Totality?
I mean, I feel like Envious had a good start here. Obviously, they started in Stalpa, they came out of down, they were in the center almost all the time, but still, they did really well, I feel like, yeah.
And FaZe, they were kind of to the side of the map. They were in their usual spot of Mill to Power along that coastline. We didn't see much of them until suddenly Hexeti came out and started taking shots, but we lost him. We lost him too soon.
Yeah, he ruined Tempo Storm's game, essentially, with some beautiful shooting. But that's the nature of Hexeti, and they did send him out, I think, a little bit far with a bit of an overextension there at one point. He came back, but we saw a lot of FaZe go down a little bit earlier than expected. The thing about FaZe is they never totally go down. The second things go wrong, their support player, who really is probably one of the best players in the entire world, always sort of takes off on his own and seems to go solo versus the world. But it guarantees a good placement for FaZe, so it's a really cool strategy. Yeah,
I mean, unfortunately, when GMT he goes these kind of center positions, it was a bit too late compared to where they usually do. So usually, if they lose a fight in 3rd or 4th circle, then they go. But here we were a lot later, and also as you said, when we have these kind of open-sided mountain faces here with 0 to none cover compound-wise, but a lot of cover with trees, a lot of cover with rocks, then it's very hard for him because everybody's also dense in the middle.
And that's a great point. If he was going from building cover to building cover, it's a little easier to survive. Of course, there's just too much of an open field.
Now, I'm really intrigued to see what you guys at home think after that first round. So we want to get your opinion. You're able to tell us what you think by voting in Twitch chat. We're just going to bring up the voting names you need right now on screen. So hashtag and then the team name you see on screen. Last time we found Liquid came out on top, closely followed by FaZe. I want to see if that's going to change this time round. We're not going to ask your opinions yet, guys. I want you to have a little bit more time to think about it. I have a feeling, though, the vote's not going to change too much, but maybe we're going to see Totality and we're going to see Space Station going up a little bit more in the ranks. I think they've caught people's imaginations now.
I think it's not going to surprise me to see some of these teams that were at 4% on the vote climb throughout the day. That said, Liquid is at 22. I'm thinking more like 46% plus after this one, because they did so freaking good.
They did indeed. Now, Team Envious, we didn't see too much of them. They had a bit more of a quiet game.
They did. It's because of their drop.
Yeah.
So they decided to switch up the drop a little bit. They moved themselves out to the Kameshki spread, as we sort of coined it recently. Kameshki, one of the newest cities added to Erangel, if you want to talk about urban development. But a couple of new areas were tossed in with it. And it's a safe place to loot. No one else really goes there. Tons of car spawns. And then they get the circle. So we didn't see a lot of them early, but that's because we didn't have to see a lot of them early.
Well, let's find out a bit more about them, because we've got a bit of a profile on Team Envious.
My name is Alec Hobazal, my in-game name is Czech Shooter, and I'm part of Team Envious. My biggest strength as a player, well, it's not always looked at as a strength, but I'm a very passionate player, very emotional, so if we start winning, we're going to keep on winning. I'm going to keep the team hyped.
I'm Caden Brill. My in-game name is Caden, and I play for Team Envious. My role for Team Envious is probably the sniper. I get opening picks, and I feel like I'm really good at that.
My role on the team is more of like a support role. I'm usually playing an off angle, watching flanks, things like that.
I think our biggest strength is like our roster has been together for the longest, I think, out of any roster. We haven't made any changes, so we kind of know what everybody's going to do, and we're pretty well coordinated.
I think we're very upbeat when we're playing, and I don't think there's ever a time where we're not confident. Even when we're losing, we come back, I think.
I'm really excited to play at DreamHack Austin. The stage is by far one of the coolest setups I've ever seen, and I can't wait to get out there and start playing.
Having live fans for the first time is going to be really cool. I hope I hope to hear them get hyped and give us some support when we're playing our games.
I think that if we play our game and we stick to our game plan, we could win this tournament, yes.
This trophy belongs to Team Envious.
There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to be feasting on chicken all the way home after this event.
Now, there's no one on this desk who loves a good fragging more than my friend Avenger here. Talk to me about Team Envious's Caden.
Caden is insane frag, and I feel like he's going to be in the top 5 of the fragging, or the top fraggers in this tournament here. He was one of the top fraggers in the Global Loot League Grand Finals as well. He's been their top fragger for as long as I can remember throughout, like, even since they were called Hyrule.
Yeah, I mean, he works well with this team. They like to frag. They like to play on foot, post fourth circle if at all possible. They want to take fights. And honestly, when you chat, they've even told me most teams play passive and are a little bit worried about taking fights. They're selective. We don't necessarily follow that all the way. We sort of exploit the fact that they're being selective and try to catch them off guard. And we saw that in that last fight where they were sort of dealing with the rock peaks. They were very aggressive. It didn't work out in that situation for them, but you saw they were using sort of double 2-time peeking from opposite sides of the rock, and just Tomai unfortunately outshot them in that moment.
Should we take a look at the map again, Toffees? I want to see what you're predicting for the next round. We've seen, obviously, some teams returning to their old favorite drop zones.
Absolutely. So something that I wanted to talk about, and this will be interesting to see, is, my pick last time was Vitality. I wanted to see them do well. They went out a lot earlier than I hoped that they would, and they had dropped Milta, which is, their favorite location. In fact, you could probably relabel Milta as Vitality Town, or Vitalicity, if you will, because of how often they spend there. The thing that's starting to worry me, though, as a Wenger, is we have a team that likes to go right here. Papaya and the gang like to loot this sort of farm spread, and I'm curious, how big of an impact do you think that's going to have on Vitality's game?
So with Team Secret here, I'm very close to them. They tend to get a lot of their cars as well. So Milta they don't have a lot of car spawns, so they have to go on the eastern area here where FaZe also goes. So they're not able to take all the cars here around farm, as they usually do. And also Team Secret, they transition out earlier than Vitality does, and they take all the same kind of transition spots. So they, they come here, they stop here, scout, they come up here and stop here and scout. And it's actually the same thing as Vitality does. So I'm kind of worried to see if Vitality is prepared for this. Obviously, they've been playing against them before, but still, are they ready to come in later than Secret and be in all the same spots as well?
I think he points out right here where this is a great spot. This was an ambush point Secret actually tried to take. They know that when Vitality makes hard rotations up, to the shooting range section up here, they want to set a trap. They want to get a free squad kill and 12 points per person. This time, Vitality, I think, was saved a little bit because the circle shifted away from the trap, but I expect Secret to continue to do that throughout the day.
I'm just wondering if Vitality are going to score higher this time, or if they're going to go out as early as they did before. Avenger, give me your prediction. You obviously got it right with Liquid last time. Are you going to go Liquid again? Are you going to be boring?
No, I'm not going to be boring. So with this plane we had here in the last game, we saw a very good plane for everybody else except Kinquin. But I'd like to see a very good plane here for Kinquin and get a good start for them. So if Kinquin get a good plane, I predict them to come out on top of this game.
We just need them to unleash the Gaxi. Yes. I feel like we didn't get full Gaxi in the last round. I'm waiting. Charge up, Gaxi. We're ready for you. Toffees.
We didn't go full Gaxi. I'm not going to forget. So a team that I was really impressed with, I thought they did well. They seemed warm. They went deep in this round, was Space Station Gaming. I think that they've got the hunger. They made some good rotations and some really smart plays. So they're a team that I think could surprise us in this match.
Interesting. Well, I'm actually going to say Team Totality, partly because they've got a British boy on their team, Smithy. Shout out to Smithy. And so I'm definitely rooting for those lads. He took the first kill of the last round, taking out Sharky from Rusky. And so I see something in those boys. They've got potential. But let's see what Twitch thinks. Bring up the votes, the predictions from at home. Here we go.
Oh, right. They was like they did that to spite me. That's crazy.
Kinquin 15. I like that. And Liquid slightly after the 16. So very interesting here if Kingpin's going to be able to come on top.
Are you surprised by Vitality now with 10%? Do we have a lot of French people at home watching, or have you convinced them?
I think that part of it is Vitality's been around a long time. They are a mainstay in the pro scene. We know that they have some of the best shooters in the world when those guys are looking for a kill. And maybe that last game was a message to Vitality that they need to step it up, they need to get more aggressive, they need to play their game. And if they do, I'm with you guys, because if they let Shiv be Shiv and Shadow be Shadow, they're going to go crazy and get a lot of Ks.
Well, two crazy guys are waiting for us backstage. Demon and Matrim, hello. Predictions, please.
You know, I'm going to be boring this time around. I'm going to say FaZe Clan. I'm going to go straight with it. I think they're going to be a little angry and dangerous. FaZe Clan can be very dangerous when they're angry.
Well, I'm going to go a little bit out of the box here. I thought that Wildcard performed very well inside the last round, and I got to go with some North American teams at this point. I mean, we're at a North American event. We got to give them some love.
Demon, I've got to stop you. I've got to correct you before we hand over proper to you guys. FaZe are one thing, and it's never boring.
That's very true. I never said they were boring. At any point that I ever say FaZe Clan are boring, they're never, ever going to be called boring. But when FaZe Clan get angry, and we saw it at BGI at the weekend, you know, they were in a dangerous situation. They ended up playing 7 games out of the 8, and they still finished 1,000+ points ahead of everyone else in the lobby. And they had some bloody good teams in that lobby, because they ended up, the last 5 games, they didn't finish outside the top 2. That's why they are still classed as the top team in the world. And I'm not going to say top 3, I'm going to say the top team in the world. So I'll be very surprised if we don't see them suddenly step it up here in this game, because 11th place, I think it is, they got in the last game, was not acceptable for them.
Yeah, that's going to inspire them to do, they're going to come out guns blazing this time. I mean, there's a lot of people that tend to joke right now that we're in the FaZe era of PUBG right now, just due to how dominant they tend to play. But I don't know, like going out that early, I could have just been the positioning on Circle, so we might have to see what adaptations they make. I mean, it was just round 1. It's always in round 1. Everything kind of changes up as we go through. Like, these next couple of rounds are super influential.
Yeah, well, I can tell you the game is about to get underway. The timer is on, guys. And it is actually going to be a very interesting plane. We already know, obviously, that they're setting themselves up. The beauty of the latest patches is we do see these plane routes early on. It's a pretty vicious one. It's going to go over Lipovka, down basically to Sosnovka Canal. And that's a straight southern cut. And that's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of teams.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about before, and a lot of teams don't like to go towards military base. They feel trapped if they go over there. They don't want to go across the bridges. Then you end up having to find some boats. That means it's going to be a hard push north. So specifically also to note is that we also do have Milta and Farm and Milta Power on easy drop points for this, whereas Georgia Pool is going to be hard to go for. So while not a lot of people might go and try to position around the Milta Power area because nobody wants to go run up against those guys, we might actually see that Secret might get a little bit pushed depending on if anybody wants to go Farm.
Yeah, I mean, even, you know, anything to Rozhok is a long drop effectively coming out of this one. And that's going to be a problem for a lot of vehicle farming. You know, think of Tempo Storm that normally go over the Gakka way. You might see a couple of people swinging over to the west, trying to hoover up the vehicles over that way. We may even see a couple of people going down towards Novo, more than we saw before. Obviously, Nova, I think it was Nova and Totality. No, it wasn't. It was Godrez that went down in towards Nova, both on Sosnovka. We could see a couple of people going down there. As you can see, the bird is in the air. It is going to be a tasty game, because you can see there's a lot of problems, and that is a vicious circle for a lot of teams involved. Obviously, Knights are fine, FaZe are fine, the guys from Vitality, they're all happy about this. This is perfect for them, but everybody else has a really savage drop.
And like, whenever you're playing inside of PUBG, this is one of those plane paths that whenever you see it pop up, you're just like, oh God, well, how do we deal with this? How do we adapt from it? And so it's going to be really interesting to see how these teams are. Look at how many of them dropped early and are going to be pushing over towards the Rozhok area, potentially towards the Yasnaya. It's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out.
I'm just looking at Shadow. The way he's dropping, he's got Nova nearby. They're trying to secure vehicles by looks of it. They're trying to have a good look around. I think Shadow's going to try and steal a vehicle away. We talked about, obviously, they were just talking about on the analyst desk how Secret are kind of pushing them up. They're trying to basically get vehicles away from one another and make sure they can secure as much as they can have a look. Nerf is on a really long drop, so he's going to be probably going down towards Nova, or maybe even just trying to be securing a boat. He's going to try and secure a boat. Now, if the circle swings away from him, that's basically Vitality or FaZe's boat that they're taking away from them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if we actually do see boats become a big factor inside this. We haven't had the circle pop up as of yet. Nova is kind of known for going towards Novo. You know, got the alliteration that goes with it. It's just kind of a running gag where they tend to drop at. Envy actually is opting into the exact same strategy that they did in that last round, where they're going Kamishki. Nobody actually dropped Kamishki, but they are pushing the Stolber area. And oh, it's okay, Landoon. Nobody saw that. It's fine.
So speaking of things nobody saw, by the way, I was talking about Lil Prodigy, how he managed to basically fat finger himself. He didn't actually do that. He'd gone out the vehicle, was healing himself up, and the vehicle rolled back over him. We didn't get to see
this
it,
circle.
but the players, they were just laughing. Oh, that's a northern one right there.
This hurts my soul. When you get one of those southern plane paths and then it goes way up north, you can see the Dignitas is already cutting up there. We know that they like to go in that Severny area, and it's going to pay big for them. So again, Dig and Envy in a good position to come out with, but again, Envy doesn't have a lot of loot options where they're at.
So while it's the far north circuit, it's not actually that bad when you put a bit of thought behind it, because the guys like that are down in the south, well, they didn't have a long journey. They're looting already. They're all going to have the vehicles, and they can start rotating a little earlier towards this far northern circle. The ones that are going north, well, they don't actually have that far to travel once they finally get there. Obviously, say it's Kingwin, if they decide to get to Georgia Bowl South, they may actually adjust because of the circle settings. I can see Vard's heading off towards that way, but you can see Gaxi, you know, I don't know whether he's being unleashed or not right now, but he's actually just looting out the compound, so he's certainly fine. Look at Optic, they'd normally be going to North Georgia Bowl as well. They're in and around Rozhok. Now, because they're in Rozhok, obviously, think of the last game, Optic went around there last time. Whether they feel they're ever going to go that way now, they just think maybe Optic's there, so it's safe. Gaxi and Larson, he has been picked up. Looks like they are going to go over towards George Bowl way as well.
Well, there's the kind of running joke that you can have. Whenever nobody's inside the circle, it ends up the most fair. Kingwin, it's okay. It's not just a motorcycle. They managed to ride through it just fine. But whenever nobody's in the circle, it does kind of make it a little bit more fair because it kind of opens up a lot of spots. But the big problem with it is how much water is inside the circle. Really, you know, you kind of use the second circle as a transition point to try to figure out where you're going to go. With half the circle being inside the water, that's going to make it's going to make it a really condensed area, specifically around Severny, shooting range, anything that's just kind of north of that river area.
You know, the previous game, we obviously had Mad Rusky guys challenging in Pachinki. This time, they've chose to go for the Watertown drop and obviously the west of school, the sort of standard drop that you see teams like One and Millennium, etc. in Europe sort of going for, kind of like one of those default locations that everyone's like, I don't really want to fight for this area. Obviously, there's generally not enough loot in Watertown itself for the whole squad. They'll probably go over towards the ruins as well. So they've left Totality to themselves. Looks like the Knights are rotating fairly early. Texas is on the move. Now he's looking to try and run down Ibiza. Has he seen him in the field there?
I think that he was driving over that direction. Bullets are coming out, and he's like, no, I think I'm going to pull back over there. He's pretty far out, separated from the rest of his team, so he's going to retreat back. He's on near on no life. Ibiza is just lining up these shots. This is not somebody you want to bump into just out in the middle of the field this early.
Yeah, he will take the fight on. He's only got 6 bullets left in that M16, but he's got an AKM on his back as well. So I guess they were basically trying to secure the vehicles because Yasnaya can be predominantly tricky with vehicles, right? Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, and obviously they're trying to secure as much as they can. They do have themselves the freedom of the city, though, so they're going to have a whole lot of loot, and it is on the edge of the white circle, so they don't have a great deal to travel just yet, where they're going to go circle. Now, Matt, we've talked about this, obviously, a number of times. With this circle being so northern, there's a limited amount of compounds up there, so people are going to want to rotate as early as possible. Well,
it's going to be one or the other. You're going to see some squads that are going to opt into a very early strategy, try to get in and get whatever train piece they feel is the safest and try to stake a claim on that as quick as possible. You're also going to have other teams that are going to feel like it's just too dangerous. Yeah. So they're going to potentially go for like an edge play. I wouldn't be surprised if we see somebody maybe go in the northern area of Stahlber over there, and Dignitas gets rewarded with an AUG 15 times. That's pretty much everything you want. That's the full set of 3s. You end up in that, and you're just kitted all the way out with 3s on it. And did Adam see that? It looked like he was headed that direction, then he pulled back off of it.
And I'm interested in rotations as well, right? So let's talk about the Western teams, because I can see that the Eastern teams, because I can see the Knights are already on the rotate. Now, we saw them clashing with FaZe Clan last time. Now, FaZe Clan, we were talking about Vitality obviously having fairly static routes. Honestly, you can kind of predict FaZe Clan's routes as well, especially with this northern circle. Expect them ordinarily to swing around the backside of Stahlber and on towards the northern edge of the hillside. Knights are doing the same thing. They're going to try and get themselves in a decent position there. It looks like they're actually going into Stahlber itself as well, if I'm looking at Kramer.
Well, it's not surprising. We just got done with the Stahlber game. A lot of people are kind of feeling what just happened inside the Stahlber game. They're remembering what got them and what knocked them down, so they might be opting into coming in just a little bit earlier, going for some positioning. James is actually doing a hard push up over there right next to Envy, and he's got Caden right next to him. Knights are trying to get into a position right now. One of the big things to note is we still have the river that's in play inside the circle, and it's making it really hard for everybody to come through. But I think that we have everybody just kind of collapsing around this warehouse area, and Samty's trying to line up some shots.
Prime territory this one for this circle. Looks like Team Liquid have got there first. Of course, they do come out of Yasnaya. They've got themselves 2 players in there. Ibiza and Skoom are still in Yasnaya, but they've gone for the 2-2 split, which is fine. Optic doing similar. They're going to go for towards that northern compound. Now, Dignitas actually split because Adam that was getting that crate, he's still a long way from his team who are trying to hold Saverni. Now, that's going to be tricky territory to hold because there's a lot of teams that are going to be looking that way. We're talking about, there really is very limited compounds in this northern circle. We're going to start going in towards shacks. Now, we are on patch 13. Shacks are probably legit right now. They're going to start being a problem in patch 14 if you're playing live right now. They're going to be starting to become an issue because of the way the Molotovs and the flashbangs are going to be working. Well, but at the moment, they're safe.
If we end up going west, there's a lot of little tricksy places you can play inside of, a lot of little divots, you know, little crevasses that you can play inside and fight your way out of. You can see some of the teams are opting into those right now, specifically since we see so much of the water inside this. A lot of people are just trying to go to as close as they can towards the middle ground area. And you can see that Adam is just trying to fight off anybody he can as Texas is getting shot out again and having to pull back away. It just seems like he can't find a home. Anywhere he goes, he's just getting shot at.
I think this is a very greedy strategy from Dignitas, and I'm going to throw myself out there. Look at this split. They've gone with 2 in Saverni. You can see Uncivil and Adam. Uncivil's going to try and join Adam now and maybe try and rescue him, but that's very risky. Yeah, everybody wants this warehouse, right? This is prime territory because you've got such a large 360-degree angle of like fire. That's just about everyone coming up these big, wide open expanses, so it's prime territory. There's another one that Secret are probably going to swing down, so you can see they're realizing this is not safe ground. They might swing around and go towards the, I don't know, the trash yard. You can basically see it in the distance there on James's screen. Is that sky? And that's exactly where Secret are going to go to. They realize it's the only safe territory at the moment. Knights tend to go there, actually.
And you're starting to see that a lot of teams bring up the map, that they're already in the rotation phase. Several teams haven't actually started moving. We still have Pat Caps and Poonage that are way down over there in Military Base Island. But a lot of these guys are doing the hard circle all the way up around to the northern area. And this is where you can end up with that double think. You can think that nobody's going to go up here. And now, look, we've got Totality and FaZe neck and neck, Mad Maxing across this area.
And this is really, I think, a credit to FaZe, because FaZe have been doing this forever. And obviously everybody looks at who the top teams are. What do they do? What's their rotation paths? You know, Totality were a mile away. They were down in Pachinki, so they've actually decided to swing all the way to the east coast and come up the exact same paths that FaZe take. Now, obviously, you've got an NV that were already in and around Kameshki, so there's a problem straight away. And I was talking about FaZe's path. They ordinarily would come around exactly where the Knights are parked right now. FaZe decided to take the fight on. As Lost gets down by Fuzzface.
That was some nice shots. Fuzzface felt that he could get that, just instantly jumps out, turns, gets the shots, gets the down onto Lawns. That's going to make it really hard for Totality losing that member early, so they looks like they already do have a foothold on where they want to go. Venerated still driving around, and again, we talked about it in last round. We're kind of in that war of attrition phase where a lot of people are going to take some pot shots back and forth with each other. Most of MV is already repositioned right next to Liquid, so this could be very interesting depending on how we might have to see another transition come through.
Yeah, Liquid, of course, still only have the 2 there, so Scoom and Ibiza still need to join them. Texas.
There's just nowhere for Texas to go. Why can this man not find a home?
He's lost his back tire. And I mean, the Knights, I would say slightly greedy from the Knights, because they've been in position for probably the longest of anyone, still continuing to look for that home. Texas has been that scout. You saw him obviously earlier with Dignitas. He was up in the northern compound looking towards that garage and double stack area. Seemed to trying to find something. Envy do get the cavalry arriving effectively as Jesse and Venerated do pull up.
And this is the risk of either moving too late or too early. If you move early, you can make that hard push towards center. You can assume that you can make it through. There's not gonna be a lot of people shooting. Whoa, Haxeti coming up and coming right across Totality. We might see some Vengeance coming back at him now, but he managed to make it into the little divot. He's gonna be able to pull back out in a way, and I think they might be able to make it back.
Now those shots just drew the attention of the Knights as well. Haxeti's gonna go down towards the coastline. Don't think he'll ditch it in the water. He's got no reason to at the moment, just waiting for the rest of his team to sort themselves out. Because he Fuzzface got 2 in the car, actually. Uncivil's on that crate. Now that crate landed a long time ago, so he's still managing to secure that one. Totality off on the coastline, trying to cover the rock area as Haxeti comes across. Looks like the rest of FaZe are going to join him on that northern coastline. Vitality have come over the bridge of Rozhok. Space Station Gaming doing the same. Everybody's just about starting to creep into the circle now.
Look at how many people are still outside the blue zone right now. Now, sure, the first one doesn't hit too hard, but we have several squads that are starting to try to make their way in. We've got Wildcard that's still outside the blue right now. We've got Pat Caps and his crew. Half of Nova is still outside of there. They're still trying to find their home, so they're going to be chasing back behind it, already in their vehicles, going to wait for the next circle to update, and they're just going to hard run into that next safe zone.
Kingwin getting very close to Mad Rusky there as they come around. Larson looks like he may be bumping into him. He is the scout man on that 2-seater. He's going to turn around. I don't know whether he spotted anything or whether it sensed everything. Goes for the little circle position. The rest of Kingwin all going to be blasting on by. All of Mad Rusky are coming towards them. They're all getting drawn towards this. I mean, they're hearing the vehicles, right? And they've actually posted on the hill directly above them. Mad Rusky suddenly realizes they're in the open fields. This is a bad place for them. They need to get cover.
That's a hard spot to try to push up on top of, so kudos to Kinguin to manage to get in that position, realize that they saw another squad, they were moving down in that area, so they're just trying to get a spot and down there. Sharky's trying to make his way up, trying to get some shots, but man, he just gets lit up and has to retreat.
Well, he was the first man to die in the last game. He's not want to go down so early this time around.
Gaxi.
Gaxi lands a Kobe. We're in America. It's certainly relevant. That's looking a good nade as well. It's going to go a little bit further down, man. That's going to hit the side. Not thinking, nope, don't want anything to do with that. Vard's going to go for the spread. Miracle coming around the side. It's another nade from Gaxi. Nop gets down, and they're down to 2. Mad Ruski's on absolutely no health on the side there. He's in all sorts of trouble as Gaxi continues to push.
Brought out the UMP, going for the close-range fight. He's trying to figure out where the other members are. He's just doing a hard push down the hillside. We got another one down as Larson picks up Reno. So just one member up, and it's going to be Mad Rusky himself, just trying to push off to the side of it. Miraku seems like he knows where he's at, and just look at him. Everybody's just chasing at him, and he's about to walk right into this UMP.
He'd already done so much damage to him. They know exactly where he was, and that is absolutely brutal from Kinguin. They were coming in. They caught a sniff of something and just absolutely went for blood like Red Rag to a bull, charged in and eliminated the squad with literally no vengeance for them at all.
I know Frankie has been waiting for it. He keeps saying, she just keeps saying, let's get Gaxi going, let's get Gaxi going. Well, now he's unleashed, and let's see how this is going to play out for him.
Unleash the Gaxi. He's been unleashed, it seems. Maybe he was listening. Wildcard, they're coming in. They had really good position in the previous game, so we'll see where they go. Monkey. Well, that's obviously Space Station. They've obviously been lighting up on Vitality, and that could be 2 down. Vitality's rotations once again catching them out as Space Station are just lighting them up. Now, they did get into the compound, both Monkey and Shiv, so they may be able to recover, but they've lost the 1 man already. Shadow down.
See that Monkey's just kind of trying to figure out how they're going to play around, seeing if anybody's going to shoot him, if they can bring the vehicle around the outside. This gas station area is kind of fun to play around, but it's kind of problematic.
They have the circle, so Space Station kind of have to push into them, right? That's the position. Oh, Kinguin are coming straight down. They're going to go onto the edge there. They're hearing the shots. Kinguin seem to be really aggressive at the moment. Gaxi's blasting his way down. They've realized shots coming across from Vitality. They've decided to back away. Now they're running straight into Space Station Gaming. Smurf it. Lethal with the Mini 14.
Space Station just getting that perfect knockdown there, and that's going to make it to where Kinguin has nowhere to go. They're just going to have to hard push right into the thick of it, as there's just all these squads just condensed right around the southern area of the circle. Finally, Space Station just jumps into their UAZ. They realize that they have to go as the blue is now coming in right back behind them.
Where are they going to go? That's the question. Kinguin have blasted back up towards the crossroads area. Space Station decided to go around to the edge. Meanwhile, Tempo Storm, you can see they had 1 down a moment ago. Optic moving up. They've got in towards that little ridge line outside Saverny. Where's this circle going to go? It does shrink in slowly towards the area. Most people had already got the compounds here, so it wasn't such an effect, effectively, with the circle shrinking in. Most people had already gone fairly central, and that's how it's worked out. Kinguin, you can see they're going to go crossroads, as kind of expected there. Nova, I would say they're going to go into that compound eventually. It's begrudgingly would go into that compound. It's not one that a lot of people like to go in towards because the hills above them have such a decent angle of fire. And actually looking at the guys from Godres, they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They're going around the edge of shooting range, trying to figure out exactly where to go. Well, we'll watch Tempo Storm here up against Optic.
Well, one of the other things to note is that Envy is in a very centralized location this time around, but there is a problem with that. This is twice in a row now. They've managed to center up just fine, but that means that you are in the sights of everybody. It is so hard to defend whenever you're in that center spot because everybody wants it. Optic looks like they're finally starting to retreat back out of this, and we're popping over here with Pat Caps and the rest of, this is going to be Godres. Sorry, this is actually 2 different squads that have managed to merge together, and we're playing through the BYOC and an AWM going off over here.
Space Station going to be happy with that one. That was risky as well from Vexel to go and get that. It's fairly open territory around there. Obviously, they had already taken shots on Vitality, but they're going to be sitting back on edge circle. Everybody else just about in. FaZe posting themselves up way in the north. They're still stuck up there. Totality, them have been trading blows back and forward. Wildcard up in the hills of Stauber as they were before. Now, you talked about Envious. Remember, they had the circle for a long period in that previous game, which gave them decent positioning towards the end. I think 4th place overall. Check Shooter's on the move, though. Looks like he's going to go for the little wooden shacks, and that's going to change his mind. He's going straight to Saverny.
New circle pops up, and you can see Check Shooter be like, nope, no longer going that way. They're going to retreat back out and around. Space Station Gaming caught up in the fight with Vitality over there.
Look at the real estate that's available, though. There's nothing in that circle that's not already occupied. So all of these teams that are now making the mad dash in, I've just got nowhere to go. Dignitas are going to consolidate. They're going to get themselves joining together. The Knights are following them in at the moment, actually, along with FaZe. They're going to blast in. There is one compound on the edge of the circle that FaZe look like they're going to pull up to. Is one Dignitas just left from. Now, the beach line, that's really where Knights can go to, unless they try and crash Severny, which is where Tempo Storm are sat ready and waiting.
You can see so many squads have just opted in. Okay, we're just going to crash Severny. We're going to go for what we can get off of it. Knights are actually opting into playing along the beach line. They're just going to spin their vehicles, try to make some type of fortifications for themselves. Pretty centered up, but that's going to put them right in the line of sight of Dignitas and Tempo Storm. They just don't want to step on top of that hill. It's just bloody.
So just about everywhere. Vitality, the crossroads is available. Monkey's just been hit. Miraku manages to find your boy Dre. That is a long shot as Kinguin decide to crash in. They were in the crossroads. Now they've occupied the south of Severny, so they chose to make that rotate in. Nova, meanwhile, coming up. They're just towards the shack at the moment, trying to make the way down. Team Secret in the scrapyard. They need to make the way down as well. Space Station Gaming, they're way down south on the edge. Now, Nova, it's a really high ground position. They could take shots on them, but this is risky because neither of them are inside the circle yet.
And you can see right now, Envy and Liquid are just kind of doing a gatekeeping role on everybody as they're trying to come in here. Secret's in a world of trouble. They did finally get a knock on top of it, so that way they can maybe get disengaged away from Envy, but at that exact moment is whenever Nova comes by.
Team Secret are choosing to try and take the shots on here. They've just lost the ground that they need to go to. These are the compounds they need to be taken. That shack is exactly where Secret needed to go. They've got nowhere to go now.
Yeah, you can see that right now. Space Station Game is coming up back behind them. They're out and by themselves. They're just running right in front of the blue. Nova is just trying to make their way back out of this. Secret's gonna have to move.
Nades.
They've got maybe like 20 more seconds.
The nades are coming down. Is it going to be enough? MPX did get knocked down as well. Oh, James lost his helmet. Take a lot of shots. The pan seems to be doing work. He doesn't have a pan on, so he's pinging off somewhere. I don't know where, but either way, this means to keep him safe at the moment. The guys from Godres, they got into Severny as well. So Severny being pressured. Space Station Gaming are on the rotate. They're going up towards the north. Obviously, not a great deal of ground up there. They're going to have to go for the hillsides in the end, where Totality, it looked like they're going to come in behind Wildcard, who tried to overshoot them. There's really not a lot of ground. Everybody's going to try and make their own compounds here with the vehicles as best they can.
See, Envy is just trying to take down anybody that's around them. Envy and Liquid have been caught in so many fights right now. Secret's finally moving in, and they just don't have anywhere that they can go to because they were trying to land right on top of Nova.
Yeah, Landom, and remember, they'd already managed to get the one knock here. Landom just creeping his way out there. Liquid and Secret pushing up along the side of them. You can see Secret coming around the side. This is the only compound they're going to go. Locknart, Landom in the smoke. How does he manage to keep alive? He pops another smoke as well. Somehow just about stays in there. The second it dissipates. Now, is he going to get any help from his teammates? I don't think he will. You can see Locknarb on the side there. He's kind of the last man standing. The UAZ comes in. He could try and use that to his advantage and get ready for the smoke to clear.
All these throwables are going out. We're seeing nades drop everywhere. We're seeing flashbangs come out. We can see the smoke's coming out. Landoon's just trying to figure out how he can get out of this. Locknarb is trying to light them up off to the side, but they're just content around playing around this UAZ, and that's going to make Landoon eventually run out of stuff that he can use. So finally, he just busts out of the smoke, takes a spin on it, gets one down, but he can't get the second one.
So close between the two there. While that's happening, Space Station Gaming, they've gone on the rotate. Look at the northern hills. It's disaster for Totality. Space Station Gaming, because they took that fight on, get drawn into it. Tume, who did so well in the previous game, getting second place for the guys from Wildcard, has been down. James, meanwhile, finds a nade on Locknarb. That was down on the shack we were just watching a moment ago. Space Station gonna move. They're in the blue. They're getting knocked. Dignitas light them up. And Space Station all apart. They're getting gunned down. There's just one man standing.
There are so many squads right now shooting a Space Station. They're caught out in the blue. There is nowhere to go. It's just a matter of time at this point. Next circle has popped itself, and it is still going to have a little bit of Severny in it, but it is going to be right on top of everybody else. As you can see, it's going to be Optic and Vinny and all those other squads. Wildcard is still up, and yeah, Space is coming up right back behind him. They're so caught up in looking at Space Station Gaming right now.
Did they pop the nade up there? I think they did. Space Station have been dealt with, so Wildcard's attention, just Smurf is left at the top above them. As FaZe decide to go for this one. First FaZe pushes up around the side. They have to make this move because they're not in the circle. They have to try and make some ground and try and look towards the hillside as Totality do go down. Space Station continue to flak. This is Smurf. He's the last man standing for his team here. He might go for the shots, but look in the distance. You can see FaZe coming over the hills. He will just completely draw the attention. Does get spotted out. Wildcard in the end will take him down. But Wildcard, they're going to come back. Look at Fuzzface. He's got to the rock.
And this is a fight out inside the blue. Fuzzface wants to go for this. None of these guys want want to run across this open field, and so they're trying to make their way forward, and so this is just a fight to try to move, see who can move first. First place does get the down on the Pride, though.
Manages to find one. You can see there's another one nearby. You just saw him go to ground a second ago. Meanwhile, Caden has taken down Pride as well, so Wildcard, they're trying to push down the hillside, and it's not working out for them. Kickstart in the end will get downed as well, so Sharpshot and Tume, who's just trying to stick around there. Meanwhile, FaZe, I think they've just gained themselves a vehicle compound. Yeah, FaZe is going to steal that vehicle away, so now they can make a compound out of nothing. What they had there, Kickstart will go down, and poor old Wildcard, who did so well in the last game, are caught in a real no man's land.
But they're trying to move forward. They found a little bit of a divot that they can play in, and they are just dropping to their stomachs right now. You can see that Envy does have line of sight off on them, so the smokes are coming out. The blues coming in. It's all going to be about how everybody has to reposition. And I got to say, Severny is just a terrible neighborhood right now. There are 3 squads all posted up over there. Envy's trying to line up over on Nova off to the side of it. Remember, we saw Landoon get knocked down just a second ago as trying to make that valiant play. They're still just caught out nowhere. As you can see, that Secret shooting him from one direction, Liquid shooting him from another direction. Optic is still alive in this split, smack dab in the middle of the circle, though.
I think Skyline's kind of showing us with the map there. It's just like, I don't know where to go. There's a shot here. There's 5 people fighting over here. There's just everywhere. I don't know which one to watch. But Nova and Secret kind of been having their own battle the whole time.
Look at Knights. Remember, they went off with that beach head that they kind of broke down and they put those cars around them. They're off on their own over there, and they've still managed to stay inside the circle.
Secret are moving. I don't know where they're going, but Papaya, MPS X is moving. Looks like he's going around the backside of Nova, who obviously were inside there. I think he wants to get in grenade range maybe and try and pop something off here. Tries to come around the side. Richie's going to keep an eye on them as the circle continues to shrink down. It's a really risky position for Secret to take, but it's managed to work.
They're coming around. That is inside the safe circle, so they can come and play along the edge, so they don't have to commit to a fight as of right now. But that's just putting Nova in a terrible spot. As look, there are 3 different sight lines coming at them. Sure, they can retreat in the shack, but they can't do anything at this point.
And they can't go behind the shack because Team Liquid will take them out. So they're in a real hard, sticky situation here. As Circle 4 shrinks on down. Where will it go? Will it pull everyone out of Severny? Will it pull them towards Liquid? Will Envy get the circle again? Or will Smithy continue to run over Papaya?
At this point, you can see that it's just this no man's land out in the middle. We've got Liquid that have their warehouse position. We've got Envy that have those buildings off to the side. Optics holding down that center spot. We know it's probably not going to go over that Severny area, so a lot of these guys are just going to have to run forward, pray that they still have smokes, flashbangs, anything that they can use just to cover large distances. And yep, right out in the middle of the open. This is about to become this is just carnage. That's all that's going to happen.
So we've got the 3 teams that are inside Severny basically are all going to push on towards Optic because it's just Valiant and Hip holding the ditch just to the south, the east, of Severny. That's really the only way they can go because that's the only circle that's available. Packcaps has just been knocked. That's inside Severny. As I mentioned, these teams are kind of here. Everybody's kind of pushed the same direction. It's very hard for them to move out. Tempo Storm are going for it. They've chosen to take the vehicles. They're going to try and go around the side there as Poonage finds Vard's head. And the nades come through as well, and that's going to make him bleed out fast.
There are 3 squads all just trying to disengage from this. They have 28 seconds to make it inside the safe zone, so all 3 of these squads have to separate out, finish these fights, and then fight Optic after this.
How are they going to push out of this Kinguin? This is a fight they don't really either want to take because they know the blue's going to be on their back. Hetra's getting pushed, by the way, by Maluke there. We're seeing Vard. He is going to get the revive. The grenade came in. You saw it. Didn't quite bleed him out quick enough there. Down to 3 men as well with Larson going down earlier. As Gaxi looks for the fight.
Tempo actually managed to separate out. They are in the safe circle on the other side of where the other duo for Optic is at. So these 2 duo squads just need to fight themselves and manage to make it out. Baja Waka is just watching over to the side of it.
So this is it, right? Optic knew the fight was coming. They left Hetra on his own. So they've actually moved 3 across, and Tempo Storm have basically took that advantage to move in. Oh, the rotates are coming. Everybody's on the move now. I can see Face Guy moving, Dignitas are moving, the Knights are moving, Check Shooter and Co. from Envy, they're having to come out as well. Team Secret are swinging around, just about everyone making the move as the circle begins to shrink.
See that? It's just chaos everywhere. As you can see, Poonage trying to run across. All these guys are still just trying to make it out, and it's just going to move into a no man's land. The Optic is just waiting for this. You can see the Optic's taking some pot shots right now over at the guys on Kinguin, so they're kind of caught up inside of that fight right now, but Hypoc is actually doing a great job of waiting for that next squad to come around. He's got the DP set and waiting for him.
Optic needs to be careful, though, because just to the side of them, the Knights are coming in. They're going to have an angle where the Knights are stood, so they're trying to gatekeep these guys coming out of Severny, trying to trying to hold them back, but every time they take shots, it's drawing everybody's attention their way. The Knights have clean angle on them. Meanwhile, we see Liquid there. They were obviously in the warehouse earlier on. They're going to try and get pushed, but they're holding their ground. Here's Kinguin. They're going to use the smokes to try and get out and get close to ground. Oh, Valiant's going to get a peek over there. Vard realizes the smoke is not enough. He gets in trouble. Bahawaka peeks over the side, and really the Kinguin, they have nowhere to go. They either push and fight in the back there. Miraku taking shots on the Knights. Their Knights are just getting gunned down. Gaxi, meanwhile, manages to find the guys in this town as Gaxi gets taken out by Bahawaka. Phaser lighting up Dignitas as well. Action all across the circle.
See that we still have the guys from Safe Res over there. They're trying to make it out. Blue's going to force him out. That whole fight was happening up the side, and Optic just turns on them, gets the drop onto one of them.
FaZe Clan go out in 11th place. They've just been wiped out by Envious. They have got themselves that position earlier on. Dignitas come in, the circle shrinks down, and suddenly the fight for Severny that we knew Optic were really holding the Stanley ground. They managed to keep them at bay. Just Lil Prodigy out there trying to tank it out. So, key positions, you can see. Team Liquid, they were in this position a long time ago in the warehouse. They still have the only complex now in the circle, along with Tempo Storm, who pushed out Optic. Everybody else has got to creep up the hills.
You can see that Nova is caught up right over here with Liquid. There's been a long fight that's happening. Abyss has already lost his helmet inside of this. Nova knows that they need to come up and move forward. Liquid's sitting there waiting for them. This is just a trap waiting to come off on it. It's all about nerf and how they hit these angles.
Look at Ibiza. That is such a crucial angle as well. Just the man at the tree realizing this is our open territory. This is our open flank. We have this hillside that they can push up on. Samty, he could easily get knocked if he keeps peeking on that rock, but Ibiza's there to shut them out. As soon as they try and creep up that hillside, they know they have to deal with him. Vitality, we've not really covered them a while ago because they obviously lost a lot of players. They managed to take down Team Secret. Oh, Scoomer's found Jesse. That's Envious. Finally, they've been engaging for the whole time. They finally get to get a knock.
Well, we've got the Knights and Optic over here on the northern area. We got down on the bottom of it, we've got Liquid that's getting caught up into a fight. So it's just kind of popping off on every part of the circle right now as Envious is just kind of watching every single fight around them. Optic's trying to line up these shots.
I'm impressed that the Knights actually managed to get the revives us. Because you remember you saw Kinguin were doing a lot of damage to them. They managed to get 2 or 3 knocks, but they managed to get the revives back. They've still got 3 alive here. But Ahawaka's trying to change that around, though. Beats just managed to get himself a kill on Nova, but he got knocked by Caden. So back and forth, that continues to go at the warehouse as the Knights getting pushed here slowly. Drayden realizes that Optic are pushing on him. Neither of these teams actually inside the circle now as the Blues on their back.
We've seen so much long-range combat that's happening out of here, and Baja just catches him out. So that's going to be another down coming out for the Knights. Knights know that they need to move forward, but this is going to be a peak battle right now. Everybody is really damaged. It's really risky for Baja to take these peaks. No helmet coming off on him. Looking off to the side, he can see Tempo Storm over there. Going to throw out the smokes. Going to try to get maybe back over to his friends. Off in the distance, trying to go for a res as Drayden also doesn't have a helmet. Trying to make it back over. He's got near on no life, just trying to run across and gets taken down.
Optic going huge there, managing to deal with the Knights. They get wiped down. Just Kramer, the last man standing. Tempo Storm now may well get caught in the crossfire. Liquid are in all sorts of problems. Samty and Ibiza, I think, they managed to get the revives. They got both Ibiza and Scoom back up there, so they managed to keep 3 alive somehow. Richie could have gone in and flushed them. It didn't work out for him as it was. As Valiant takes down Kramer, the Knights will go down in 7th place. Now, who's in a good position? Team Liquid, they won the last game. Could they do this one? You got the Envious guys. They've still got 4 alive. Optic, oh, they've just lost Hippok. Shiv on the rotate down south has managed to get the knock.
We've got Vitality that has a line of sight over on the Optic right now. Circle pops, nobody's inside of it. Everybody's gonna have to push more into this no man's land. Everybody's just trying to play along these little cliff faces that they can try to find. You can see Optic getting shot up off to the side of it. Abisa does get the kill onto Richie, so that's gonna knock him down and out.
6th place for Nova. Hippok getting taken down by Vitality, and you mentioned the circle. The players always say, we want center circle, we want center circle. You're gonna get center circle, but it gives you no cover. Valiant gonna try and move in, use that UAZ as much cover as he can. He knows he's got the Vitality guys down south that are taking up Tempo Storm. It's a 3v4 battle between Tempo and Envious right now on the hills.
You can see that getting that UAZ just right inside the circle may be extremely influential, as now Envy does have somewhere that they can actually play around and a piece of cover that they can use to take shots at everybody around them. Everybody else looks like they're going to have to run into trees, find whatever little piece of cover that they can find. Jesse Lowell's actually pushing hard inside the circle, going to line up onto a tree. I love this, and nobody's taking shots at him because nobody has the angle right now.
Ibiza's trying to rotate around the south. He's pushing towards Vitality, realizing he knows that, oh, that was a good shot on towards Benk there from Venerated. Managing to get a little shot off. Ibiza's actually right on top of Vitality. got to be very careful. They're trying to go for a bit of a split here as Venerated. Oh, is he going to manage to land it? He's going to try and take the vehicle down. He knows that Tempo Storm pushing up there. Monkey has been down by a Ibiza. I knew he was going around the side there and chose to back away. They don't want to push onto Envious. They don't want to take on the battle because they know there's 4 life. They've been in compound to compound action from circle 1 onwards.
See that Ibiza right now is the gunner for Liquid, but does not have a helmet, so it's going to make it really risky to take all of these peaks wide out in the open. Just look in front of Ibiza right now. That's going to have to be the angle that they're going to push. Envy does look like they all managed to get up there, though.
Optic getting pushed by Tempo Storm. Your boy Dre coming around the back. Zampa lighting them up there, gets Bahawaka down. No love lost between those guys as Bahawaka gets finished off there. We do see the Vitality guys, they get taken down. So Vitality go down, I believe, in 5th place. Optic down in 4th place. So they're both going down at the same time almost there. Liquid now, they're going to get pushed by Envious from the right-hand side. Remember, they've got the UAZ compound, but look at Envious. They're in nade range. They could just pop the nades over the top. They're going to get clear view.
Just goes crazy with the nade.
Venerated lands the triple kill nade and just wipes Liquid from the planet in 3rd place.
So now we are down to 2 different squads. You can see that it is Envious and Tempo Storm on the other side.
The battle for America right here. Envious with just 3 alive if they lose one there. The check shooter going down to the play zone, but the circle goes their way as it did throughout the last game. They're catching them out. Tempo Storm doing some great shooting there. Benki gets check shooter down. Your boy Dre now, he did a lot of damage on towards them. Oh, Kaden with the car, that was so close.
It's important to remember that while all the fights were going on everywhere else, these 2 squads were very quiet. They were pretty close to each other, but they really never popped up to take any shots. So actually, Zampa's having to run. He's got the UAZ coming down back behind him. He can use it for cover as it's rolling back. That is absolutely perfect timing. That roll does end up saving him. He has near on no life. He has to protect his feet.
The knock on Kaden, that could be vital. Jesse and Venerated, your boy Dre's going for it. He's pushing around the side there. He wants to get up. Look at your boy Dre. He's making a big run. He's going straight forward. He knows exactly where Jesse is. BenQ manages to get the kill down. Kaden and Venerated. Kaden just been rezzed up there. They lose 1, but now they're in all sorts of trouble. It's a 2v3 as Tempo Storm take the circle.
They had to push across that, move into Envy, take control over that circle. Now Envy's had to reposition down off, so let's see how your boy Dre lines up for it.
Zampa gets knocked on the side there. Your boy Dre's going to come out on this one, but no! BenQ gets Kaden down into 1v1.
And now
BenQ versus Venerated as they come up over the hillside. BenQ trying to land the hell shots. Oh, he's run out of bullets! He's going to go for the reload, gets himself down!
Oh, and Venerated managed to get it! So that is going to be Envy coming in with the win.
What a battle in the hills of Severny. Amazing stuff, and we see Envious. They take it this time around, and that overall is consistent performance. 6 kills for Venerated, 5 kills for Kaden, 12 kills overall for the team. Really well played from them. Tempo Storm, well, they finished in 2nd place. Overall, 7 kills for them. Not too bad. Team Liquid, they get themselves that 3rd place after the chicken dinner in the previous matchup with 6 kills overall. Optic, who were gatekeeping for so long, in the end, only come out, well, I mean, say only, they do get themselves a decent amount of 7 kills in the end, so not bad from them. You know, we're talking about the boys from FaZe. They were down in 11th place once again with just 4 kills. What a game, man.
Well, we had some crazy shooters inside of that game. We have Venerated that came out with 6 kills, all things considered. Kaden with 5. Your boy Dre netting 3 inside of it. Ibiza coming out with 4. And Bahawaka coming out with 4. So just a crazy, and we often hear about everybody wants it to come down to a shooting gallery. They want to make sure that they can get the shots. They want to prove that they can get them. And I got to say, that was a crazy last circle.
Epic finish once again in the northern side of Erangel. Let's get over to the desk to take us through that game.
Whoa, envious with that god name at the end. Boys, break this down for me, please. That was intense.
I mean, so I guess start with the envious moment, right? Where they were down to 3 teams. They had everything on the line. Venerated pulls the pin on a grenade, sees a car coming in, lobs it in front, and 3Ks Liquid to just eliminate them from being a threat. And from that moment, Envious is running on an advantage because they now have that approach vector open to them.
Yeah, and I mean, all this side they have here, they were there so early, like, so the first pin we have here, oh, here we go. So they actually started here coming in super early on this position, and it ended very close to them. So they kind of held on everything. They got more than 10 kills. I think they got 12 or 13 even in this game. So taking that, it just proves the point that being able to take a center position early in the game it's just so important.
Yeah, I mean, positioning really is of the utmost importance, gathering information, but holding that spot. And it was the advance on the warehouse. Tempo had gotten in there, they had cleared out some enemies, they were in a pretty good spot, but being able to remove Liquid in one fell swoop, which really was impressive to say the least. I mean, you heard the crowd got really behind that one, because how often do you see a grenade blow up a car with 3 people inside of it? So big shout out to Venerated, who I think threw that grenade. So kudos to him, because that was a game changer.
And of course, your boy Dre. I was sat behind you, Toffees, and you were like, oh, it's Dre's game.
Yeah, I mean,
Dre got taken out.
Dre and Zampa make a really good 1-2 punch. Like, they're very aggressive players. They like to go at it, and it's they're one of those teams that when they get to that final 4 or 5, and they can sort of stop worrying as much about the big macro rotation strategy and just play, let's kill them before they kill us, they excel. So I saw Dre coming up over that hill. I thought for sure he was going to get the spray down. It didn't work out in their favor, but it was incredibly close. We saw those kills were going 1 for 1 until it finally ended.
Well, there were a lot of kills, of course. So let's take a look at our top 3 plays from that round. The Godnade's got to be in there, surely.
I hope so. If not, then we'll make sure it gets around there some other time. So this was a nice little knock there. Is Vard's down. Miracu doing a good job of taking some shots. I think there's a sign outside of Georgia Pole that says, do not feed the penguins, because these guys got mad and they went crazy in the last fight. Now, problem was they came out of Severity and they got caught out. They hurt everyone, but didn't heal fast enough, and Miracu ultimately was wiped. Now, Tempo Storm, we jump over to Zanpa. Again, we talk about his aggression. He set the stage for the final push, came out here, got Valiant down by the car, but had also taken out his opponent a little bit farther away. Finally, go ahead.
With the nade. Was it Caden? Was it Venerated? I don't know. I'm not sure about it. Yeah, it was Venerated, as you said. Look at that fantastic nade 3. It's not often you see that.
Well, it was funny. We jumped to Caden on that highlight because we thought Caden was taking the lead position over the hill and he was going to have to sort of win this really difficult gunfight. We saw Liquid jumping out of the car, ready to go at them, but Venerated was just behind, very smartly cooking. And honestly, had that nade not gotten the kills, it was a smart play, because the cooked grenade would have thrown Liquid into sort of a little bit of chaos and made Caden available to come forward. As you know, we know Caden, a phenomenal fragger, probably would have been able to get at least 2 of them down before taking return fire anyway.
Well, we need to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to break down the map a bit more and we'll take a look at those standings too, so don't go anywhere.